I am worthy of good things. Say it out loud. Yeah, I know it probably feels weird at first, like you're trying to hype yourself up before walking into a job interview you didn't even apply for. But honestly, this simple sentence is like emotional Wi-Fi. Invisible, powerful, and you only realize how badly you need it when everything starts buffering in real life. Most of us walk around treating ourselves like the discount version of who we really are, clipping coupons for confidence, apologizing for existing, and acting like upgrades are for other people. No, not today. This one line is your daily reset button, a gentle slap of truth that reminds you that your value does not depend on whether you had a productive day, whether someone texted you back, or whether your hair is behaving. It's a statement that goes straight for the throat of self-doubt, the tiny gremlin that whispers things like, "Are you sure you deserve that?" Or, "Maybe don't try that, people might notice you." That gremlin is lying. And it's time you started calling it out. Think of this affirmation like leveling up your emotional immune system. When you believe you're worthy of good things, you stop negotiating with life from a place of lack. You stop treating happiness like some clearance item that you'll buy when the time is right. Instead, you start showing up with the confidence of someone who knows they belong at the table, not because someone invited you but because the table wouldn't be complete without you. When you internalize the idea that you deserve good things, your brain begins to filter your world differently. Suddenly, opportunities don't look like traps anymore. Compliments don't feel like scams. And love doesn't feel like a loan with high interest. You start seeing yourself as someone who is allowed to have joy, success, growth, rest, affection, stability, all the good stuff you kept thinking was reserved for people who have their lives figured out. Spoiler alert, nobody has their life figured out. We're all improvising. Of course, the funny thing about telling yourself, "I am worthy of good things," is that you won't magically feel it on day one. Your brain might roll its eyes at you. Your inner critic might file a complaint. But keep saying it anyway. Emotional rewiring takes repetition. Imagine you're training a very stubborn dog. The dog is your brain, the treat is self-worth, and the trick you're teaching is "stop insulting me." Every time you repeat the phrase, the dog learns a little more. Eventually, it gets the message. It begins to shape how you react to life. Instead of shrinking from opportunities, you step toward them. Instead of thinking, "Why me?" you start thinking, "Why not me?" And that shift is huge. This isn't about becoming arrogant or pretending everything is perfect. It's about challenging the belief that you're somehow less deserving than the next person. Think about it. If your friend came to you and said, "Hey, do you think I deserve good things?" you'd look at them like they just asked if water is wet. "Of course you do," you'd say. But when it comes to yourself, suddenly you turn into a risk analyst calculating why you don't qualify. Enough of that. You're a human being. You have a heartbeat, potential, dreams, and the audacity to exist in this wild world. That alone makes you worthy. So say it loudly, even if it sounds awkward, even if nobody taught you how to believe in yourself, even if your past tried to convince you otherwise. Say it until it feels like truth. Say it until it stops being a line and starts being a lifestyle. Say it until the part of you that doubts everything finally packs its bags. Because at the end of the day, your worth is not something you earn. It's something you recognize. And the sooner you start claiming it, the sooner life begins to reflect it back to you in ways you never imagined. You are worthy of good things, not someday, not maybe, not if you perform well enough. Right now. Exactly as you are. And the moment you believe that, everything around you starts to shift. I can handle whatever comes today. Go ahead, say it like you mean it, or at least say it like you're trying to convince your brain not to panic before the day even starts. This sentence is basically your emotional equivalent of walking out the door with a mental cup of coffee. Warm, energizing, and capable of preventing unnecessary chaos. And let's be real, life does not RSVP before it shows up. It just barges in like an uninvited guest with muddy shoes, messy energy, and a talent for ruining your clean carpet. But this one line? It tells your mind, "Relax, we've dealt with worse," even if the worse was just accidentally sending a message to the wrong group chat last week. It reminds you that no matter what today throws at you, surprises, setbacks, weird conversations, or people with attitudes that make you question humanity, you've got enough resilience to figure it out. Here's the thing, your brain loves to make every little thing feel like a disaster. You run out of coffee? End of the world. Your phone dies at 4%? We're doomed. Someone uses the word urgent in an email? Might as well prepare my will. But the truth is you've survived every single day of your life so far. Every tough moment, every awkward encounter, every heartbreak, every "I can't do this" day, you handled all of it. Maybe a little messily, maybe not with perfect hair, but you handled it. That means you already have a track record of being stronger than your challenges. You don't need a superhero cape. You are the cape. You've built resilience without even noticing it. And that's why this statement hits different. It shifts your mindset from, oh no, what if something goes wrong? To, okay, if something goes wrong, I'll deal with it the way I always do. One step at a time, probably with a little complaining, but still getting it done. It's like telling the universe, I'm not scared of you. Try me. Not in a reckless way, more like a, I've got the tools, the patience, and the emotional duct tape to get through anything kind of way. This affirmation doesn't promise the day will be perfect. It doesn't pretend life is sunshine and smoothies. What it does is remind you of your adaptability. Humans are basically walking, talking shapeshifters. Emotionally, not physically, unless you're really flexible. You adjust, you learn, you pivot, you figure things out even when you have no idea what you're doing. And honestly, most challenges look a lot bigger from a distance. The moment you step into them, they shrink. It's like when you were a kid and thought the dark closet was hiding some monster, only to grow up, open it, and realize it was just your laundry. That's how stress works. It looks terrifying until you actually face it. And the cool part is, every time you deal with something, your brain quietly records it like, noted, we survived that. Add it to the strength folder. So when you say, I can handle whatever comes today, you're reminding your brain to check that folder. It's full, by the way. You don't need to know exactly how you'll handle things. You don't need a step-by-step plan or a motivational soundtrack playing in the background. You just need the trust that you'll respond when the moment comes. That trust is what keeps you calm, centered, and grounded while everyone else is spiraling. It's what allows you to walk into your day with the kind of quiet confidence that makes even your problems hesitate for a second. So repeat it, I can handle whatever comes today. Say it with humor, say it with determination, say it with tired morning energy, say it while brushing your teeth. Just say it. You're not predicting a chaos-free day. You're preparing yourself to meet that chaos like someone who's already been through storms and still showed up with dry socks. You've handled every challenge life has thrown at you up until now, and guess what? You'll handle today's too. Because you're built for this. You don't just survive days, you conquer them even when it doesn't feel like it. And that's exactly why you can trust yourself to handle whatever comes next. I choose progress, not perfection. Go ahead, say it like you're breaking up with that annoying inner voice that keeps telling you everything has to be flawless or it doesn't count. Because perfection? Oh, that's a trap. A shiny, glamorous, Instagram-filtered trap that makes you think you need to be some polished, unbothered, perfectly composed human. Spoiler, nobody is like that. Not even the people who pretend to be like that. Perfection is basically that high-maintenance friend who never shows up on time but still expects you to plan the whole day around them. Progress, on the other hand, is the chill friend who says, hey, let's just do our best and see how it goes. Choosing progress means choosing sanity. It means choosing to move forward even if you look a little messy, even if you stumble, even if your plan doesn't unfold like a Pinterest board. It's giving yourself permission to grow instead of demanding that you magically be finished. When you start your day with this mindset, everything feels lighter. You're no longer waking up thinking, I need to be perfect today, which is basically the emotional equivalent of trying to sprint a marathon in flip-flops. Instead, you wake up thinking, okay, what's one thing I can improve today? Maybe you drink more water. Maybe you don't hit snooze 8 times. Maybe you finally answer that message you ignored for 3 weeks. Maybe you learn something new, fix something small, or just make a tiny decision that your future self will appreciate. That's progress. And when you add up those small wins, suddenly your life looks like a transformation. Not because you performed perfectly, but because you kept showing up. Perfection tells you not to try unless you guarantee success. Progress tells you to try because trying is where success begins. Perfection is like having a mental strict teacher hovering over your shoulder with a red pen, judging every move you make. Progress is more like a coach on the sidelines saying, hey, that wasn't perfect, but I see you improving. Keep going. And honestly, we all need more coaches and fewer critics in our own heads. Because the truth is, perfection is unreachable. You chase it your whole life and still feel behind. Progress is achievable every single day, even in small doses, even when you're exhausted, even when you feel like you're not doing enough. Choosing progress means you stop treating mistakes like proof you're not good enough. Instead, you treat them like evidence that you're learning. You stop thinking in terms of all or nothing. You stop quitting because something wasn't flawless. You start realizing that messy action beats perfect inaction every single time. Besides, perfection is boring. Your imperfections are the things that make your journey real, relatable, and actually interesting. Nobody gets inspired by someone who has everything together all the time. People get inspired by those who grow through challenges, and every step of growth is progress. This affirmation also saves you from that exhausting, energy-draining guilt that comes from constantly thinking you're falling short. Progress reminds you that movement is movement even if it's slow. You don't need to reinvent your whole life in a day. You don't need a perfect routine, perfect productivity, or perfect habits. What you need is the willingness to take one step, then another, and then another. The magic isn't in the speed, it's in the consistency. You can build anything if you're willing to keep improving: your mindset, your skills, your habits, your relationships, your future. So say it again: I choose progress, not perfection. Say it with pride, say it with humor, say it like you're rejecting unrealistic expectations and choosing yourself instead. When things go wrong today, because let's be honest, something always goes a little wrong, remind yourself that it doesn't have to be flawless to count. When you slip, adjust. When you get frustrated, breathe. When you feel behind, remember how far you've already come. It's not the perfect days that change your life, it's the consistent ones. Your growth is happening right now, even if it's quiet, even if it's slow, even if it doesn't feel impressive. Progress is messy, human, and beautiful, exactly like you. My thoughts don't control me. Say it like you're reclaiming the remote control from that chaotic inner voice that keeps switching channels without your permission. Because honestly, our minds can act like hyperactive toddlers sometimes. Loud, dramatic, overly creative, and convinced that every random idea is a national emergency. One moment you're brushing your teeth, and the next you're thinking about that embarrassing thing you said 7 years ago. Or suddenly imagining worst-case scenarios that have a 0.0001% chance of happening. But this affirmation? It's like stepping into your own mental courtroom and calmly reminding the jury, hey, thoughts are not facts. Your mind can generate all sorts of nonsense. Weird, anxious, dramatic, or completely unrealistic, and you don't have to treat any of it like the truth. Your brain loves to talk, and it doesn't always make sense. It throws out thoughts the way a popcorn machine throws kernels, fast, random, and sometimes a little burnt. But here's the magic. You get to choose which thoughts you entertain. You can look at a thought and go, nope, not today, the same way you'd scroll past a video you didn't ask to see. When you say, my thoughts don't control me, you're reminding yourself that you are the one behind the wheel. The thoughts might be in the backseat screaming directions like an annoying GPS that doesn't understand traffic, but you're still the driver. You get to decide the route, the speed, and whether or not you're taking the scenic road today. Intrusive thoughts are especially sneaky. They show up uninvited, like that one neighbor who doesn't knock before walking in. They say wild stuff like, what if everything goes wrong? Or what if you fail? Or what if everyone secretly hates you? And for a long time, you might have believed that if your brain thinks it, it must mean something. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. The brain generates intrusive thoughts the same way your phone generates random notifications. Automatically, without context, and often at the worst possible moment. When you remind yourself, my thoughts don't control me, you're teaching your mind that it doesn't get to be the boss. It can suggest things, comment on things, overanalyze things, but you choose what to respond to. This mindset builds emotional strength. Instead of getting pulled into every dramatic mental storyline, you start observing your thoughts like you're watching the trailers before a movie. Interesting, weird, not helpful, absolutely not, oh look, another anxious plot twist. You become an observer instead of a participant. And when you become an observer, you gain power. You stop drowning in your thoughts and start surfing them. You stop believing every scary idea, every insecure whisper, every mental what if. You start recognizing, that's just a thought, not a prophecy. And the funny thing is, once you stop giving your thoughts so much power, they lose their intensity. The more seriously you take a thought, the louder it gets. The more you shrug at it, the quieter it becomes. It's like your brain goes, oh, we're not panicking about this? Okay, guess I'll go back to thinking about snacks. When you stop treating your mind like it's a strict dictator and more like a messy roommate, everything becomes easier. You gain emotional control not by forcing your brain to behave, but by reminding yourself that you don't have to obey every idea it throws at you. Choosing which thoughts to engage with is like choosing which apps get your time. You wouldn't open an app that drains your battery, stresses you out, and gives you nothing in return. You'd close it immediately. Same with thoughts. When a thought pops up that doesn't support your peace, confidence, or clarity, you can mentally hit close tab. That's emotional regulation at its finest. Not fighting your thoughts, not believing them blindly, but calmly deciding which ones deserve attention. So say it again even louder, my thoughts don't control me. Say it like you're taking your power back. Like you're reminding your brain who pays the rent in this headspace. You are not held hostage by every mental image, every anxious prediction, every weird memory, every spiraling idea. You are the thinker, not the thought. You are the one who chooses. And the moment you fully understand that, the noise quiets down, the storms pass faster, and the air inside your mind becomes a whole lot clearer. I am allowed to take up space. Say it like you're telling the universe, hey, I'm here, I exist, and I'm not shrinking just to make anyone else comfortable. Because somewhere along the way, many of us got trained to treat ourselves like we're taking up too much room, too much time, too much attention, like we should apologize for breathing too loudly. Society basically hands out these invisible, be smaller, be quieter, don't bother anyone rulebooks that nobody remembers signing. And then we spend years tiptoeing through life like we're in a museum, scared to touch anything, scared to be noticed, scared to take up even a fraction of the space we're entitled to. But here's the truth, you're a whole human being. You're not a background extra. You're not a placeholder. You're not a whisper. You're a full, living, breathing presence. And you have every right to take up physical space, emotional space, mental space, and conversational space. This affirmation isn't just about standing somewhere without apologizing. It's about giving yourself permission to exist boldly. It's about sitting at the table without making yourself smaller. It's about speaking in a room without rehearsing every word 5 times in your head. It's about having opinions, needs, feelings, and preferences, and not treating them like inconveniences. When you say, I am allowed to take up space, you're rejecting the idea that confidence is only for those people, whoever they are. You're reminding yourself that you don't need to earn your right to exist. You don't need to perform for acceptance. You don't need to shrink so someone else can feel taller. You get to be here fully without editing yourself down. And let's be real, many of us have mastered the art of shrinking. We move out of the way too quickly. We apologize for things that weren't our fault. We speak softly even when we have something important to say. We sit on the edge of the seat like we're waiting for permission to relax. We text, "Is this okay?" before sharing a perfectly normal thought. Shrinking becomes a habit like muscle memory for insecurity. But this statement disrupts that habit. It taps your shoulder gently and says, hey, you know you don't have to minimize yourself, right? You're allowed to exist in your full-size version. Taking up space doesn't make you rude. It makes you real. It doesn't mean being loud or dominating. It means not erasing yourself out of fear. Imagine if every plant tried to shrink itself to avoid blocking the sun from another plant. That's not how a garden works. Everything grows in its own direction. Nothing apologizes for blooming. You're the same. You don't have to dim your light to let someone else shine. Lights don't fight each other, they just make the room brighter. This affirmation is especially powerful when you're communicating. How many times have you swallowed a thought because you didn't want to interrupt? Or stayed silent even when something bothered you? Or let someone talk over you because you didn't want to cause friction? Yep, same. But when you internalize, I am allowed to take up space, you realize your voice is just as valid as anyone else's. Your perspective matters. Your presence matters. Your experience matters. You matter. And nobody benefits from you disappearing into the background. Not you, not the world, not the people who need your authenticity. Being comfortable taking up space also strengthens confidence in subtle ways. You stand differently. You speak differently. You enter a room differently. Your energy shifts from, I hope no one notices me, to I belong here too. And that shift is powerful. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop letting others set the tone for how big or small you're allowed to be. You start giving yourself permission to occupy your life fully, physically, emotionally, mentally, socially. And here's the fun part. Once you embrace this idea, you realize most people aren't judging you like your brain assumes. Everyone is busy worrying about their own space. Meanwhile, the world actually needs people who show up as their full selves. Confidence is contagious. Authenticity opens doors. Presence creates connection. When you take up space unapologetically, you inspire others to do the same. So say it again, I am allowed to take up space. Say it like you're expanding, stretching, growing into the version of yourself that doesn't shrink for anyone. Say it like you're stepping into the room with your shoulders back and your energy grounded. You are not a footnote. You are not a whisper. You are not a shadow. You are a whole human being, deserving of space, deserving of presence, deserving of visibility. And the moment you believe that, you stop living small and start living honestly, fully occupying the life that belongs to you. I will focus on what I can control. Go ahead, say it out loud like you're telling your brain to stop acting like it's the manager of the entire universe. Because let's be honest, most of us wake up every day and immediately start stressing about things we have absolutely zero control over. The weather, other people's moods, traffic, your Wi-Fi choosing violence for no reason. somebody's tone in a text message, your coworker's personality being whatever it is. Meanwhile, the things we do control, our reactions, our choices, our effort, our attitude, those get ignored like a salad at a barbecue. But this affirmation? It's a mental reset. It's a reminder to stop wasting energy on the stuff you can't steer and start putting your focus where it actually matters. On the things that respond to your actions, not your anxiety. When you say, I will focus on what I can control, you're basically unfollowing drama. You're unsubscribing from stress newsletters. You're muting the noise and turning your attention inward where your real power is. Think of life like a giant dashboard. There are a million buttons, switches, and flashing lights, but only a few of them actually belong to you. The rest are just there to distract you or make you feel responsible for stuff that's not your job. Focusing on what you can control means refusing to touch the buttons that don't have your name on them. You stop trying to fix people. You stop trying to read minds. You stop trying to predict outcomes like you're some emotional weather forecaster. You stay in your lane, and suddenly life feels less chaotic, less heavy, less dramatic. And here's the wild part. So much of our stress doesn't come from the situation itself. It comes from wishing the situation were something other than what it is. We want people to act differently. We want circumstances to magically rearrange themselves. We want the day to cooperate. But focusing on what we can't control is like trying to hold back the ocean with a broom. Exhausting. Useless. A little embarrassing. The moment you shift your mind to what is in your hands, everything becomes simpler. You can't control the storm, but you can control how you sail. You can't control other people's reactions, but you can control how you show up. You can't control what life throws at you, but you can control whether you dodge, catch, or throw it right back. This mindset also protects your peace. When you focus on the controllable, you pull your energy back from the black holes that drain it. Rumination, overthinking, worst-case scenario spiraling, all of that loses power when you redirect your attention to your next step instead of the entire mountain. It's like choosing to mow your own lawn instead of trying to mow the entire neighborhood. You get more done, you feel more grounded, and your stress doesn't spiral into a comic-level disaster. You begin to notice, oh, I can't control this person's attitude, but I can control my boundaries. I can't control whether something is difficult, but I can control whether I try. I can't control the timing of the universe, but I can control my consistency. Focusing on what you can control also builds confidence. The real kind, not the fake, I have everything figured out kind. When you narrow your attention to your own actions, you start stacking small wins. You start proving to yourself again and again that you're capable, adaptable, and resilient. Confidence doesn't come from controlling everything. It comes from knowing how to handle anything. And this practice strengthens that muscle. Life stops feeling like a giant test you didn't study for and starts feeling more like a puzzle you can solve one piece at a time. Plus, let's be honest, releasing control over the uncontrollable is liberating. It's like putting down a heavy suitcase you didn't even know you were carrying. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to predict everything. You don't have to monitor every detail. You don't need to control outcomes, just your input. And ironically, when you let go of the things you can't change, you actually perform better in the areas you can change. Stress makes you sloppy. Focus makes you powerful. So say it again, I will focus on what I can control. Say it like you're reminding yourself where your power actually lives. Say it like you're choosing calm over chaos. Say it like you're gently taking your mind by the shoulders and steering it away from disaster thoughts towards something real, something doable, something grounded. You can't control everything, thank goodness, but you can control yourself, and that's more than enough to shape your day, your direction, and your entire life. I am grateful for what I have today. Say it like you're taking a deep breath after your brain has spent the last 24 hours auditioning for the role of overthinking champion of the year. This simple sentence is like hitting the pause button on stress and reminding yourself, hey, look around. I've actually got some good stuff going on. Gratitude doesn't mean life is perfect. Far from it. It doesn't mean you have all the answers or that your Wi-Fi works, or that the people around you always behave like emotionally mature adults. It just means you're choosing to shift your focus from everything that's missing to everything that's already here. And that shift, believe it or not, can calm your mind faster than a long nap and a snack. We're living in a world that constantly tells us we're behind, missing out, or not doing enough. You open your phone and boom. Someone bought a house, someone is in Bali, someone started a business, someone got a six-pack overnight, someone's cat is apparently making more money than you. It's easy to get caught up in the not enough mindset. But gratitude pulls you out of that mental storm. It taps you gently on the shoulder and says, let's focus on your life, not the entire internet's highlight reel. What you have today, your breath, your body, your people, your opportunities, your small comforts, your progress, that's real. That's yours. And appreciating it helps your brain stop catastrophizing everything like it's a dramatic movie trailer. Gratitude also shrinks problems down to their actual size. When you're stressed, even tiny things feel like level 10 emergencies. One inconvenience and suddenly you're questioning your whole life. But when you start your day by saying, I am grateful for what I have today, it's like giving your brain a pair of glasses. Your perspective clears up. Your emotional balance resets. You're less likely to spiral over minor stuff because you're anchored in what's already good. It's harder to drown in stress when your mind is holding on to real, steady things instead of imaginary disasters. And here's the fun part. The things you're grateful for don't need to be fancy. You don't need a perfect life to practice gratitude. You can be thankful for your bed, your breakfast, your favorite t-shirt, the sunlight coming through the window, the fact that your phone didn't die overnight, or even that one friend who sends you memes instead of deep emotional questions. Gratitude is not about being delusional, it's about noticing. The small good things count just as much as the big ones. Sometimes more because the small stuff is what gets you through ordinary days. Gratitude also has this sneaky way of lowering anxiety. When you pay attention to what's working, your nervous system relaxes. Your mind stops scanning the environment for danger like it's in survival mode. You start feeling grounded, connected, and clearer. Anxiety feeds on what-ifs. Gratitude feeds on what is. And your brain can't panic and appreciate at the same time. It has to pick one. Gratitude gently nudges your mind toward calm instead of chaos. And let's not forget, gratitude improves your mood without needing any motivational speeches or expensive courses. It's like giving yourself a little emotional snack, a boost of energy that says, hey, you're doing okay. Look at the good around you. When you focus on what you have, you feel more capable of handling what you don't have yet. You feel less rushed, less pressured, less competitive, more content, more centered, more patient with the process. Gratitude also makes you more present. Instead of living in the future where everything is uncertain or the past where everything is already over, you live in the now, where good things actually happen. You start noticing that your life is not something you need to escape from, it's something you get to experience. And that's where real peace comes from. So say it again, I am grateful for what I have today. Say it like you're acknowledging your own life with appreciation instead of criticism. Say it like you're giving your brain a warm hug. Say it like you're choosing to anchor yourself in the good instead of drowning in the noise. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring challenges, it means not letting them blind you. It means seeing the full picture, not just the stressful parts. And when you practice that, you begin to feel lighter, calmer, and way more grounded in the reality that no matter what else is going on, there are still things worth appreciating right here, right now. I am capable of learning and growing is basically the grown-up version of telling yourself, hey, I'm not stuck, I'm just loading. It's that reminder we all need when life hands us one of those situations where you stare at something and think, yeah, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. Maybe it's a new class, a tough job, a relationship that suddenly needs better communication, or even just trying to assemble something from IKEA without losing your mind. Whatever it is, this affirmation steps in like a friendly American coach with a backwards cap yelling, you got this. And if you don't got this yet, you'll get it soon. Because that's the magic. Learning and growth aren't supposed to feel perfect, they're supposed to feel like progress. Nobody wakes up instantly good at everything unless they're secretly a robot, and if you are, congratulations, your updates must be incredible. For the rest of us humans, learning is messy. You make mistakes, you get confused, you overthink, you get frustrated, and then, bam, you get it, and suddenly you're giving advice like you invented the whole thing. Reminding yourself that you're capable of learning and growing gives you permission to not freak out every time you don't understand something immediately. It's like telling your brain, relax, we're in the tutorial level, not the final boss fight. It turns mistakes from disasters into data, failures into feedback loops, and awkward moments into comedy material for later. When you believe you can learn, everything becomes less threatening. Instead of thinking, I'm bad at this, you start thinking, I'm bad at this right now, but just wait till next week. That little shift changes your entire vibe, from stressed to curious, from insecure to improving, from stuck to leveling up. Growth becomes something you look forward to instead of something you fear. And the best part? Every time you learn something new, no matter how small, you prove yourself right. You literally upgrade in real time. So say it proudly, even if you're still figuring things out. You are capable of learning and growing, and as long as you keep showing up, you're going to surprise yourself again and again. My emotions are valid is like giving yourself an emotional permission slip signed by the principal of your own life. It's that reminder that whatever you feel, Whether it's stress, sadness, excitement, confusion, irritation, or you're just weirdly emotional because you saw a dog wearing a tiny raincoat, your feelings are real and they matter. A lot of us grew up thinking we should be strong, keep it together, or not make a big deal. But guess what? You're a human being, not a vending machine that dispenses perfectly neutral reactions. You're allowed to feel things. You're supposed to feel things. If emotions weren't meant to be felt, we wouldn't have them, and evolution would have just deleted that feature like a bad app update. When you tell yourself your emotions are valid, you stop fighting your own inner experience. It's like saying, okay, I don't love that I'm feeling stressed right now, but I'll let it sit on the couch instead of locking it in the basement. It doesn't mean your emotions get to run your entire life like some dramatic CEO. It just means you're not pretending they don't exist. And honestly, suppressing emotions is exhausting. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. Sure, you can do it for a bit, but eventually it pops up and smacks you in the face at the worst possible time. Acknowledging your emotions actually reduces their intensity. It's emotional Aikido. By accepting them, you take away their power to overwhelm you. This affirmation also builds self-compassion because it reminds you that your reactions make sense based on your past, your personality, your stress, your day, and about 10,000 invisible things happening inside you. You don't have to justify why you feel what you feel. You don't need a PowerPoint presentation to explain why you're upset. You don't need to compare your emotions to someone else's struggle and tell yourself yours don't count. If your heart is reacting, that's enough. Your emotions have context even when you can't see it yet. And here's the beautiful part. When you validate your emotions, you become calmer, kinder, and more grounded. You stop apologizing for being human. You stop gaslighting yourself into thinking you're too much, too sensitive, or overreacting just because someone else didn't get it. You start becoming your own safe space instead of your own harsh critic. And that shift, it changes everything. You communicate better. You heal faster. You grow stronger. So say it like you mean it, my emotions are valid. Because they are. You don't have to earn the right to feel. You don't need permission from anyone else. Your inner world deserves attention, not judgment. And the moment you start treating your emotions with respect, life starts feeling a whole lot lighter. I am becoming a better version of myself every day is basically the motivational equivalent of hitting the update button on your life instead of letting your software glitch forever. It's you reminding yourself that growth isn't some giant Hollywood montage where you suddenly wake up shredded, successful, emotionally healed, and sipping a green smoothie. No. Real growth is slow, steady, slightly chaotic, and honestly kind of funny when you look back at it. It's brushing your teeth when you don't feel like it. It's choosing not to argue with someone who clearly graduated top of their class from the school of missing the point. It's reading 2 pages of a book instead of doom scrolling. It's deciding to drink water even though soda is whispering your name like a toxic ex. It's tiny stuff, but it counts. Every day something shifts. When you say this affirmation, you're not claiming you're perfect. You're claiming progress. And progress is way more realistic and way more fun. Perfection is a trap. It's that voice that says, if you can't do everything right today, just don't do anything at all. Meanwhile, progress is like your chill best friend who's like, relax, just do something. One little thing. We're good. Progress celebrates your effort, not your flawlessness. It doesn't care about your messy hair, your doubts, or the fact that you mispronounced a word out loud and now want to move to a different continent. It just cares that you're trying. You're not the same person you were a year ago, a month ago, or even last week. And that's the whole point. You've learned things. You've survived things. You've discovered things about yourself that you didn't know before. Maybe you're better at setting boundaries. Maybe you're less reactive. Maybe you're more patient. Okay, fine, slightly more patient. Maybe you learned how to cook something without nearly setting off a fire alarm. Growth comes in all shapes and sizes. The magic is that once you believe you're becoming a better version of yourself every day, you start noticing your improvement instead of your flaws. You shift your brain from, I'm not enough, to, I'm on my way. And that shift creates momentum. Suddenly, getting up earlier feels possible. Eating something green doesn't feel like punishment. Working on your goals feels exciting instead of overwhelming. You start cheering for yourself instead of criticizing yourself like a grumpy movie reviewer. And here's the truth, who you're becoming matters way more than who you've been. You're not defined by your old mistakes or your past habits. You're defined by your direction, your effort, and your willingness to keep going, even when it's slow, awkward, or messy. Every day you make some type of progress, even if it's small, even if nobody sees it, even if you don't feel it right away. Growth is sneaky like that. So when you tell yourself, I am becoming a better version of myself every day, say it confidently. Say it proudly. Say it with that American accent energy like you're narrating your own life documentary. Because it's true. You're evolving. You're improving. You're leveling up, one day, one action, one tiny win at a time. And honestly, you're doing way better than you think.